Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to tell you how you can eat rice, bread, and potatoes without having a big impact on your blood sugar. Many people who live with diabetes, pre-diabetes, or want to control their blood sugar think they'll never be able to eat these three foods again. I'm going to tell you how to eat them the right way, in the right amount, and the best combination so they don't impact your blood sugar. You're going to love this video, so stay until the end. You won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask if you have any of the conditions I mentioned. Diabetes, prediabetes, polycystic ovary syndrome, insulin resistance. Why do you want to control your blood sugar? Write it for me down here in the comments and tell me how old you are. I'd love to see your comment. Go ahead and like the video now. It really helps me out here on the channel. It shows YouTube that you trust the content, that you support my channel, and that's super important to me. These foods end up being the foundation of many people's diets, right? They're basic foods, neutral in flavor, go well with lots of things, and work great as a side for many meals, don't they? Whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, or an afternoon snack, a little bread, some rice, or pasta usually saves us, even when we're in a rush. And many people, when they become diabetic or need to control their blood sugar, start to worry. What am I supposed to do now? Can't I eat these anymore? There are actually some tips on how you can do this without causing a glucose spike, so let's talk about that. The first thing is to basically remember the concept of the glycemic index, which I've talked about many times here on the channel. It's about how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed. Of course, the absorption speed of those three carbohydrates I mentioned, white bread, white pasta, and white potatoes, have a high glycemic index, meaning their absorption rate is very fast. They are converted very quickly into sugar because they are digested very quickly. They move rapidly from the stomach to the intestine and from the intestine into the bloodstream. Because of this quick transition, they often end up causing a noticeable spike in your blood glucose. So what do you need to do? There are two things you need to do. The first thing is to never eat them alone. You shouldn't just have a bread with coffee in the morning because that will raise your blood sugar. You shouldn't just eat a plate of pasta with a little tomato sauce because that will raise your blood sugar. So what you need to do in these situations is add either fiber or healthy fats or some type of protein to slow down the absorption of that carbohydrate. So if it's fiber, ideally it should be a salad, chia seeds, or psyllium to help slow things down. Any type of vegetable, salad, or cooked or sauteed veggies to help slow down the absorption of that carbohydrate. If it's healthy fat, chia and flaxseed also count here again. You can add avocado, olive oil, walnuts, nuts in general. These are all healthy and will help. In the case of fats, we need to control the amount because just because it's healthy doesn't mean we should eat a lot since it increases the calorie content of the meal. So always go for a more moderate portion. And always remember the protein. Eggs, cheese, milk, meat, chicken, fish, beans, lentils, chickpeas, which are plant-based proteins. They also have fiber. So it's about balancing your plate, okay? Don't eat alone. And there's still a second point here, which is the question of quantity. We always have to measure the amount of carbohydrates because if you serve yourself a plate of pasta, eat 2 or 3 breads, even if you add salad, fiber, or protein, you'll get a spike because it's just too much. So it's a matter of balance. Remember that thing about the plate? Take your plate and divide it into 4 parts. Half the plate should be vegetables, greens, salad, 1/4 protein, and 1/4 carbohydrates. That way, you can already visualize the role each one plays in your life and how much you can put on your plate. And on top, you drizzle a little olive oil, add some avocado, sprinkle some chia or flaxseed to further enrich your plate. You'll already have a much more interesting nutritional balance. Second mistake, it's mixing too many of these in the same meal. I know there are people who eat lasagna with rice, pasta with potatoes, and rice and corn, couscous with a little bread for breakfast. So it's about choosing one carbohydrate for that meal. It's a matter of habit. I know there are people who have this habit of eating a lot of things mixed together. The only thing I actually recommend you can mix is rice and beans because, as I mentioned, beans have fiber that actually helps the rice, lowering its glycemic index. But in the case of carbohydrates, the ones I'm talking about, potatoes, rice, pasta, choose one of the 3. Don't put several of these on your plate because it will really spike your blood sugar, especially since there are people who even eat bread with their meal, right? There are people who make a plate with rice, potatoes, corn, beans, meat, salad, put a piece of bread with butter on the side, and eat it all. You don't need all that. Remember that plate I told you about? Choose one of the carbohydrates and stick with it. That'll help you control your blood sugar better. A really good tip, and I've even made an entire video about this, is the order in which you eat your foods, which can help you control your blood sugar. Because if you start your meal with vegetables, I'm talking about main meals here, for lunch and dinner. If you start with a soup made only of vegetables, or a salad made only of vegetables, maybe with some flaxseed, chia, some nuts, something like that, but I mean without the meat, chicken, or fish, you'll already have less appetite by the time you put potatoes, rice, or pasta on your plate. So it will make it easier for you to balance this issue of satiety, right? It will help you have less appetite when you get to the main course, so you'll end up eating less carbohydrate, and it will also help you control your blood sugar. There is a time of day when you should avoid eating these foods in large quantities, and that's precisely at breakfast. We already have a greater tendency to experience a rise in blood sugar in the morning due to the dawn phenomenon, when we have an increase in cortisol and adrenaline, and there is a physiological insulin resistance, which causes blood sugar to rise for everyone. So if you already have diabetes or prediabetes, the tendency is for this to become even more pronounced. So, at breakfast time, the ideal is to avoid eating too much bread and potatoes. Some people eat regular meals like rice and beans. Those wouldn't be a problem, but pasta, mashed potatoes. Be careful with excesses in the morning. I mention this because I know there are people who almost have lunch before going to work, depending on the type of job they have, especially if it's more physically demanding. So this morning time is a bit more delicate in that sense. If you can reduce the amount of these foods in the morning and focus more on foods with less carbohydrates, more fiber, more protein, and more healthy fats, it will be better for you. Another very important tip: after you've eaten a meal with more carbohydrates, especially those with a higher glycemic index, you can do some physical exercise. It could be a walk, for example, a 15 or 20-minute walk, even inside your house if you don't have anywhere to walk outside. You can just walk around at home, put on some music, watch some TV, and keep walking back and forth from your living room to your bedroom and back. Just keep going for 15 or 20 minutes. This walk will help you because when we exercise, our muscles absorb more glucose regardless of insulin, and this helps keep your blood sugar levels more stable. Of course, if you can go outside, actually walk on the street, at the beach, or in the park and keep a faster walking pace, that will be even better. But if you can't, there's also the option of doing it at home, going up and down a few flights of stairs. Try to keep moving. The more still our body is, the less glucose it uses, and the higher your blood sugar tends to be. If you can also add some kind of strength training, Pilates, water aerobics, or exercises that increase muscle mass, that will be even better for you. Because as I mentioned, they absorb more glucose independently and help prevent sarcopenia, which is very important, right? The older we get, the higher the risk of muscle loss, of sarcopenia, so this will help you in the long term as well. Another important point is that I also made a really cool video here talking about how cooling starch naturally lowers its glycemic index. Bread, pasta, rice. This video is really great. I give all the tips on how to do this to further lower the glycemic index, and I'll leave this video down below in the description for you. A really cool tip is that you can chill rice, freeze bread, chill pasta after cooking, and even reheat it. You can make a big pot, store it in small containers, freeze it in the freezer, or keep it cold in the fridge and then reheat it. With this, its glycemic index decreases and the absorption of carbohydrates slows down. There's an entire video talking about this, and if you want more details, I'll leave it down below in the description for you. Another interesting point is that if you really want to use these foods but are willing to make some changes, remember that you can add or substitute part of these foods or even all of them for lower carb versions. So remember that, for example, if you're going to make rice, you can grate some cauliflower and make white rice mixed with cauliflower. That way, you'll have half the carbohydrates you would have in that rice. Mashed potatoes, you can do the same thing. You can make it together with cooked zucchini and process it all together, or with cooked cauliflower, process it all together, and you'll have half the amount of carbohydrates basically. Pizza, pasta, bread, I have recipes for all of that here on the channel with lower carbohydrates. Of course, I know that's not the main idea of this video, but I'm just trying to tell you that if you want a lower carb option, a healthier alternative, there are also options here on the channel. If you want more tips and information, I have a really nice playlist about diabetes, about controlling blood sugar. I have another playlist about foods and blood sugar control and how each one affects it. I'll leave the links down below in the description. Remember to like the video, it really helps me out, and share this video with anyone who needs these tips. Let's work together to spread this chain of good. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.